folks. So your next assigned role is called the perspective taker. And before you continue this, I want you to make sure that you have a pen or pencil out, that you have your perspective taker notes as well as the perspective taker roll sheet. So pause that and make sure you have the notes and the roll sheet and a pen or pencil ready to rock. So what exactly is the perspective taker? Well, we have to establish a few things. You're now a little bit into your book, obviously, and the perspective taker sort of considers a few things. What we have to know and establish between us is that every character, whether you're reading fiction or nonfiction, every character, we're usually talking about people here, has a perspective, right? You have to understand that in any event, right? Think about a time in your life when you've been involved in something and you have not been given a voice. Like, have you ever been in trouble with your parents and you feel like you've been in the middle of some crazy event, but you were not asked your opinion on that, or people didn't really understand how you felt, or you were in like maybe a friend group and you definitely had a perspective on how something went down, but you just didn't really feel like your voice was heard. Every character in a book has a perspective. It's just that some characters are not given because of the author not including it. They're not given a direct communication to the reader. So a perspective is what a character thinks or feels about a certain event in a story. And our job as readers is to say, you know what, this minor character may not have been given a huge voice in this event. So it is my job to figure out what information they're trying to tell me, even though the author might have left out what they are thinking. First, what we have to identify in the book, and I'm going to actually move this up here. What we have to identify in the book is we have to identify the primary points of view. We have to understand who is given the direct connection to speak to the audience. Is in your book, is there a direct character that is narrating the whole time? Like, think about in The Outsiders. Who is giving, honestly, who is narrating the book? It's Ponyboy. Who, as the reader, who do we get to hear inside of their head most of the time? It's Ponyboy. And definitely on top of that, it's the Greasers. Is there an omniscient narrator in your book? Omniscient meaning, is there someone who is the all-knowing? You know those books where there isn't really a specific person talking? It's just like this narrator who's just describing the story and you get to see inside the head of many different characters. Well, that is an omniscient third-party narrator. If you're reading fiction, you have to think about it, and you can even pause this video if you want to think about it. If you're reading fiction, which character or group of characters are given this primary perspective? That's probably not who you're going to primarily think about in this role. You are going to think about the minor characters, the group of characters not given very much voice. Like if you're thinking about Batman, right? Like, which villains are not interviewed after a fight scene to talk about how they felt about how it went down, right? Which is a silly example, but it's true. In nonfiction, I know there's a couple people reading Fast Food Nation. There's some people reading the autobiography of a face. Memoirs are just like that. When we are writing a story about ourselves, who are the people that we don't include? Well, sometimes it's the people that we have no idea what they're thinking, and we don't really want to put words into their mouths. So sometimes we have characters in books that we just describe how they may have looked in that moment, but we don't have the actual perspective, the inside thoughts, the inside feelings of those characters. So on the next slide, what I've got for you is I took a little excerpt from chapter 4 of The Outsiders, because I know we've all read that book together. And in The Outsiders, remember how in chapter 4, Johnny kills Bob. Remember Johnny and Ponyboy are in the park. Remember that really crazy part where Ponyboy has just slapped his brother Dally. They're super mad. They go to the park and Johnny and Ponyboy are there and the Socs approach them. I want you to read the excerpt and I want you to think about, first of all, who is narrating, who is given a voice in this scene, and who is really a part of the scene but is not given a voice. So here is the excerpt I'm going to move my little thing down here, maybe up here. And I'm going to have you read who is really the person we're getting inside of their brain perspective and who is involved in the event, but that we don't really hear from. So pause this video, read it now, and come back in a second. Okay, so we obviously hear inside of Ponyboy's head. Who is it that we are sort of hearing from? Well, we hear from Johnny. Do we hear Johnny's inside perspective as to what he was thinking in the moments before he killed Bob? No. Honestly, if you were to think about what do you think was really going through Johnny's head, like the moment before he did that? We could imagine that. What do you think was going through Bob's head the moment before he was killed? Do you think he was feeling moments of regret? Do you think he was super angry? Do you think that he was like flashing, like having like flashbacks to think about Cherry and to think about his family, the people that he was, I mean, honestly going to lose in a moment, right? What was he thinking? So who are the represented people in this scene? Who are the overly represented, the people given a voice? And who are the perspectives that are very underrepresented that we could sort of fill in the blanks? Below in this hyperdoc, you're going to see some practice. You're going to see a Pixar film where you're able to watch and think about who are the perspectives that are really like overrepresented and underrepresented, and you're going to be given some opportunity to practice sort of like imagining what's going through the head of some of those underrepresented characters. This last slide I have for you is essentially what you're going to see on the bottom part of your roll sheet. In your Lit Circle book, like on your roll sheet, you will see that there is the summary, there are the theme topics, and then below are 3 spaces. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to decide in the part of your book that you're reading for this chunk, where are instances where there are characters that we don't hear from and we kind of wonder what he or she might be thinking. You're going to say the name of that character, and you're also going to honestly think about possible thoughts or feelings they might be having in that moment. You're going to record the text evidence over here, like we've been doing, the text evidence where we see this event occurring. And you can absolutely have this be for the same the same character. You could have it be for 2 characters. You could have it be for 3 different characters. But you're going to want to pick specific moments where you feel like you're not given the inside scoop on a character's perspective, what they're thinking or feeling, and you're going to want to imagine what they might be feeling in that moment. This is the end of this specific instruction. Please let me know whatever you need next and just proceed to the next box on the hyperdoc. Best of luck.